Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point, AFR Talk. My name is Brian Fisher. The program is Focal Point. The network is AFR Talk. Welcome aboard the USS Focal Point, our patrol boat in which we patrol the choppy waters of America's public life, looking for the intersection of truth and politics. Our commander is on the bridge. The scriptures are nautical charts. Holy Spirit as our navigator, and I serve as your loyal, humble, and cheerful first mate. And Mrs. Loyal, Humble, and Cheerful First Mate is with me in the studio. Hi, babe. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you.
Welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Thank you very much.
So anyway, Deb and I were watching the debate last night, and I kind of got frustrated with Romney. And those of you that are on my Twitter feed, Brian J. Fisher's the handle, know that I was kind of frustrated. I thought Obama was just pummeling Romney, and I wanted Romney to start throwing some punches back. And he never really did. He got a little bit energized toward the end of the debate. So it's interesting, and there was a lot of discussion as I read the kind of post-game analysis over kind of Romney's approach to this debate, and a lot of folks like myself thought that Romney was a little weak and should have been a little more forceful and a little bit stronger. But Deb, your reaction was a little bit different. So how did the debate and how did Romney come across from your perspective?
Well, first of all, I have to tell you, to be honest with you, I had to stop reading your tweets because I was enthused about how Romney was doing, and you were discouraging me with your tweets. So
I was bringing you down.
You were bringing me down, exactly. But I was really proud of Romney and the job he did. I thought Obama came across as petulant. He was rude. He was condescending, and he looked mean. And, you know, as a woman, I'm not drawn to that at all. You know, I don't like knockdown dragouts. I like respectful. I thought Romney appeared respectful. I thought especially he was respectful of the office of president. And, you know, that means a lot because that's who's going to be representing us to the world. I want someone representing the United States who is respectful and knows how to respond respectfully. And Obama came across as a thug in my mind.
Rob, why don't we grab clip number 3? It's clip 5 on the rundown, the third clip from the debate, because this illustrates what Debbie is talking about. And Deb, maybe you want to plug that in so you can listen to this excerpt from the debate. But, you know, Debbie's observation was that Governor Romney came across as presidential. He was knowledgeable, he was respectful, he was calm, he was under control. He manifested the kind of qualities that you want in a chief executive, while President Obama, on the other hand, came across, as a juvenile thug or a thug.
He came across as a thug. He was snide. He was rude. You know, I just thought it was very disrespectful.
And here's an example of that. This is where I really thought that President Obama descended in. It was just kind of childish and juvenile and immature. This is where they're talking, and Governor Romney's making the point that President Obama is weakening our military, and this is dangerous. And we're going to have the smallest Navy we had since 1970, the smallest Army we've had since 1940, the smallest Air Force we've ever had. And President Obama interrupts Governor Romney, and here's what he had to say.
Our Navy Our Navy is smaller now than any time since 1917. The Navy said they needed 313 ships to carry out their mission. We're now down to 285. We're headed down to the low 200s if we go through with sequestration. That's unacceptable to me. I want to make sure that we have the ships that are required by our Navy. Our Air Force is older and smaller than any time since it was founded in 1947. We've changed for the first time since FDR. Since FDR, we've always had the strategy of saying we could fight in 2 conflicts at once. Now we're changing to 1 conflict. Look, this, in my view, is the highest responsibility of the President of the United States, which is to maintain the safety of the American people. And I will not cut our military budget by $1 trillion, which is the combination of the budget cuts that the President has, as well as the sequestration cuts. That, in my view, is making our future less certain and less secure.
Bob, I just need to comment on this. First of all, the sequester is not something that I proposed. It's something that Congress has proposed. It will not happen. The budget that we're talking about is not reducing our military spending. It's maintaining it. But I think Governor Romney maybe hasn't spent enough time looking at how our military works. You mentioned the Navy, for example, and that we have fewer ships than we did in 1916. Well, Governor, we also have fewer horses and bayonets because the nature of our military has changed. We have these things called aircraft carriers where planes land on them. We have these ships that go underwater, nuclear submarines. And so the question is not a game of battleship where we're counting ships. It's what are our capabilities?
So again, Deb, and that's what kind of you were reacting to, and I agree with you completely there about President Obama, that business about we have fewer horses and bayonets, we have aircraft carriers like he's talking to a child. I thought it was very condescending and patronizing.
And you know, his comment, I don't know exactly how he said it, but his comment about Bin Laden. Yeah, I'm glad that you thought he was an enemy of the state.
Yeah, glad that you agreed with my...
Yeah. I just felt like he was condescending to him. You know, I thought Krauthammer described it the best. He said that Romney was large. He was large in his answers. He had a command of the information. There were issues that I wish he had brought up that he chose not to, but that's neither here nor there now. But Obama was small. You know, he resorted to disrespectful comebacks instead of information. You know, he never gave specifics about what his plan was for the next 4 years. It's just that he's not done. Well, that's my problem. He's not done. And I think Romney gave a good reason to not allow him to complete.
My special and honored guest in the Focal Point studio has been my own wife, Debbie Fisher. Beauty and the Beast is what we're going to title this segment. Thanks, babe, for dropping in. Appreciate it.
It was good to see you.
Hey, love you.
Love you.
You know, and like I said, you know, I sent out a tweet last night with Debbie's assessment of the debate that Governor Romney came across as knowledgeable, respectful, presidential. President Obama came across as kind of mean. And that was the most retweeted tweet I think I've ever sent out. So apparently Debbie's assessment of the debate resonated with a lot of people. I've got a piece here by Toby Harnden from the Daily Mail over in the UK. And a lot of times you get an interesting perspective by reading this analysis from people across the pond because they're fascinated by American politics. You know, I was interviewed by Channel 4 from the UK over here because they're just fascinated by what goes on here, the way we do politics in America. They don't have anything like that. They don't have talk radio in the UK, so they're fascinated with the kind of give and take you have on radio here. And here's what Tony Harnden said, or Toby Harnden. I don't have his first name here, and I can't remember exactly what it is. But he said, you know, if you parachuted in, basic analogy, you parachuted in from Mars, and your first exposure to presidential politics was this debate. This is the first thing you'd ever seen. He said, you would think that Mitt Romney was the president and that the pretender, the challenger, was Barack Obama. He said, because you look at the way these guys conducted themselves, you know, what Harnden says, it looks like Obama came into the debate thinking he was the one that had to score points, and he was the one that had to change the dynamics of the race. So in other words, what Harnden says, you look at the way Barack Obama conducted himself last night, he looked like a guy that believed he was losing the election. And Romney, on the other hand, looked like a guy that believed that he was in charge and was safe and could afford to play it safe. So that's just kind of a fascinating kind of dynamic on how the debate went down. And, you know, let's grab, we played the clip that showed kind of the snarkiness. Oh, I've got some information on that because in that soundbite, President Obama said that the sequester was not his idea. This is a bald-faced lie. It's an absolute bald-faced lie. And by the way, he talked about bayonets. We don't have as many horses and bayonets. Well, that's true. But I sent a tweet out, picture of the soldier patrolling the tomb of the unknown soldier. You know what he's carrying on his shoulder? He's carrying a rifle with a bayonet. And the Marines still train with bayonets. And I'm guessing the Army still trains with bayonets. You're in hand-to-hand combat. That's something you're going to lead. And we still have horses. In fact, the first soldiers into Afghanistan in 2001 went in there on horseback because of the terrain. Iraq, no, it was Afghanistan, actually. Let's see. The first soldiers into Afghanistan went in on horses back in 2001. Might have used them in Iraq as well. But Fort Bragg, which is home to the to the Army Special Operations Forces, they train guys on horseback even today, because sometimes you're going into Afghanistan. That's the only way you can navigate the terrain. But President Obama claimed last night that the sequester was not his idea. And the one who disagrees with him is Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward, ultra-leftist, uber-leftist, winger left, the guy that brought down Richard Nixon with his book on Watergate. And he published a book this year, Bob Woodward did, that directly contradicts what Barack Obama said. This is an excerpt from the book by Bob Woodward about the sequester. Now, the sequester is this terrible deal. I'll explain what it is in a minute. But here's the quote. Then OMB, that's Operation of Management and Budget, then OMB Director Jack Lew, now the White House Chief of Staff, and White House Legislative Affairs Director Rob Neighbors, pitched the idea of a sequester, pitched the idea to Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Under the deal, which Republicans accepted after several rounds of bargaining, the federal debt ceiling was raised, staving off a potential financial crisis. So, according to Bob Woodward, than whom there is no whomer, in liberal circles, the sequester was all Barack Obama's idea. It came out of his people, from the OMB director and the Legislative Affairs Director, right out of his office. The sequester was Barack Obama's idea. He's trying to pass this off on Congress. Wasn't my idea, had nothing to do with it. Not only was it his idea, he signed it into law. So Barack Obama told something that was simply not true, and he knew it was untrue when he was saying it. Focal Point, AFR Talk, back in 2. Stay with us.